current role is a Chief Operating Officer for a new startup biotech company. And just to explain, so the Chief Operating Officer is together with the CEO and with all the other C-role executive leadership that drive really the company. So these are called C-role executive management team. So my background is science. I'm a scientist. I've got a Ph.D. in immunology, and after that I stayed another 6 years in academy doing a postdoc. And then I spent 19 years in the biopharmaceutical industry arena, of which 7 in biotech and the rest in big pharma, such as Novartis and Takeda. I'm Italian. I was born in Milan, that's my hometown. However, I moved to London in UK for business reasons 28 years ago. And this is the country that actually has provided me the most of the opportunity from a professional standpoint. Is very different, actually every day is very different, because as a 2-people company, as you can imagine, you need to be on the top of absolutely everything. However, my role effectively is really to keep an oversight on the whole cross-functional development program. So effectively all the function that they are contributing to the program, so CMC, manufacturing, preclinical, regulatory, clinical, budget, finances, obviously dealing with the investor. So effectively dealing with everything that requires attention for that specific stage of the program. But just to give a very concrete example, I can tell you what 2 days ago looked like. So for instance, it was like reviewing a protocol for a tox studies with a CRO and engaging them and discussing those selection. At the same time, we changed the strategy for our formulation for phase 2-3. So really just to look into all decision-making, option, pro and cons, cost, clinical as well. We have just finished phase 1, so obviously there is a lot of going on from that perspective. At the same time, we are having a board meeting next week in Boston, so it's really looking and putting everything together. And really, I normally have one-to-one with my CEO just to discuss, to split the work, but effectively there is a lot of work also with the investor, just in terms of communication, what to communicate to keep them updated, and really, so as you can see, is all sort of activities that need to be taken care of. As I said, it's a 2-people company, so I'm afraid, and that's the beauty of it, at least for me, motivates me a lot. So it's not just strategy or it's not just operational, it's actually both. So it's thinking of the strategy, but actually rolling up your sleeves in order to effectively do the work ourselves. So that's really my typical day. And then of course, as you know, issues arise, so they need to be dealt with effectively and efficiently. I think the benefit is, like, with just 2 people in the decision making, is very fast to make a decision, as you can imagine. So that's really my role. We're working from home. We don't have an office, so effectively we got the office of our investor in Boston, but effectively myself, I work in London at home, and the CEO is in Boston, so he's working from his home, and all the consultants are between Europe and US. So we are very agile, we are very lean, so we keep also our budget under control, and therefore we don't have sort of office, or we got office when we need, but certainly we don't have offices where we actually work. So yeah, very, very agile, very nimble, very much based on trust as well. So actually I need to start my journey back in Milan, of course, because after my degree in pharmacy, I started to work for a Italian pharmaceutical company called Italfarmaco. And they offered me this great opportunity to spend 1 year in London to work on a program in collaboration with the London Hospital Medical College here in Whitechapel. And of course I grabbed that opportunity. I really wanted to have this experience. And then basically after 1 year I decided actually I wanted to stay in London, so I had the opportunity to do a PhD on the program that I actually was working. So I stayed in London, and then I did a postdoc at the Medical Research Council because I wanted to expand a little bit more on my academic education. So postdoc, 6 years working in tuberculosis on genetic vaccines, and it was very very important for me really to understand what basic research would look like, and also I really like the very international environment at the MRC. However, after 6 years, I realized that I really wanted to get more tangible in terms of delivering a drug and really getting closer to drug development. However, at that stage, to move to a big pharma would have been a bigger step for me. Therefore, I was offered the opportunity, and I looked for that opportunity to join a startup biotech. So it was a small biotech, but not as small as this one where I'm actually working. They were recruiting the team leaders. So there was already a management team, and the team leaders, they were the sort of head of small group, functional group. So I was hired as a head of pharmacology, so I was in charge of all the preclinical immunopharmacology work for that company, and that company was in Cambridge, and it was on very exciting early programs, scientific programs. So also scientifically was very interesting to me as well. So I stayed at Lorantis, that was the name of the company, for around 6 years. However, the stage of that company was again quite early, so it was still preclinical, and again I was really keen to explore the whole spectrum of drug development. And then I realized at that time that the only way of doing so would be to join a big pharma. So at that point, I started to look for roles that would give me that really big picture overview of drug development. And I found that those roles were within global program management / leadership in big pharma. So in 2000, I joined Novartis in Horsham, UK, as a global project manager of a discovery project. Again, would have been too much for me, too much a big step to move to full development. So again, because my science background, that certainly was the best way to move across big pharma and also global program management. So I started to work on a set of projects from lead optimization to proof of concept, so the first sort of phase 2A proof of concept. And then I was basically managing teams, cross-functional team, global team. So of course, really understanding the requirement of each function contribution into drug development. However, again, because my purpose was really to really explore the whole spectrum of drug development, after 2 years and a half, I moved to full development. And there I worked to the other part of the development, so from effectively proof of concept to registration, so all the phase 3 and even beyond that, so life cycle management, and really getting to learn what it really means, drug development, and bringing a drug to patients, because at the end that's what I really wanted. I was really keen to do, because at the end of the day, my motivation for this job is really to get patients the drug that they need. So I stayed at Novartis until 2014, and Novartis provided me a huge exposure to a variety of programs of every stage, but also different indication. I work on rare disease, orphan drug indications, so it really a variety of exposure, but also not only from a scientific standpoint, but also how you would organize and structure the team and the work in an effective way. Novartis really work in a very efficient way with global program team all over the world, really with clear roles and responsibility, and that has been a very invaluable experience for me. So in 2014, actually the Horsham site shut, so obviously it was not my decision to move from Novartis. So I moved to Takeda in 2014, again a sort of middle-sized pharma, and then again at Takeda I brought quite a lot of learning from Novartis. Takeda was building just at that time a global program management function, so it was quite nice actually to transfer some of those learning. And then at Takeda I got into, from 2016 I was offered the opportunities to move to a small group, an experiment called Taxcelerator. This was a group that would function as a small biotech within a big pharma. So our role, I was a project lead, our role was to reposition assets that Takeda would not develop internally because change of strategies, change of focus, so reposition to a rare disease indication. So the whole group was just focused on rare diseases, and then understanding the gaps, building the development plan and the business strategy, and then look for external money in order to develop those programs and effectively spin them out. So that was a really new opportunity for me, and never done things like that in terms of really looking for external investors and really dealing with venture capitalists. So it was very successful. I really enjoyed, and one of the programs that was externalized is actually the program that this startup biotech company I'm working for took over. And in fact, actually, the company was launched in April 2018, and then the investors asked me to join formally the company as a chief operating officer, to work together, strictly together with the chief executive officer, to run and to transition this program to startup biotech. So effectively, I end up in this COO role. Effectively was not planned, but it was a fantastic opportunity, and for me was the right time to leave big pharma and to really work in a different way, work in a very agile way, working as an adventure effectively, because coming from a big pharma into a two people company, quite a challenge, but is really enjoying, and I don't regret this decision, and it's very refreshing way of working. So I think that's my journey so far, and this is the way I end up in my current role. Is to never say never, and that's I learned actually with this country. I came to this country to study English, and it was summer, it was miserable, and then I said I would never come to this country again. And 28 years here, obviously, just explain how you should never draw too drastic conclusions. Actually be open-minded in terms of next career step, and really have a direction. Like, for instance, my direction was, at the end of my academic career, say I want to really be involved in the drug development, but I didn't have a specific role in my mind that I was really focusing. It was more a general direction, but I never said, oh, I want to be a COO of a startup biotech in 15 years. So the lesson that I learned, number one lesson, the value of mentorship. Mentorship are, normally in big corporations there are mentorship schemes. My experience is they're a little bit weak, I have to say. So I would say you need to be very proactive to do that. And especially at Takeda, I was very proactive. And I think mentors and role models are really important, and mentors that they're actually not exactly perhaps in your area, they actually expand your mind. Functional managers, sometimes they, I don't think they're good mentor. I mean, you can be lucky, but in my experience, I think functional managers are too close to the work, too interested in, obviously, the work itself and the goals or whatever. I think it's better to have somebody a little bit detached that actually can advise you better effectively. Create your own network. That network is absolutely invaluable for creating opportunities, but also for soundboarding. I think is very important. My also experience would be, don't do too bigger step. I know that it's very overrated, this sentence of or you should go out of your comfort zone, which I totally agree. I think we should and push ourselves, but when you're absolutely out of completely your comfort zone, I don't think it's very good. So I think in my career I could have gone very far, sort of the extreme. I had those opportunities, but I consciously decided not to, mainly because I really value life-work balance. And I think that I love my job, I've got a passion, but I've got a passion for other things, and I want to cultivate that passions as well, because they will make me a better person also from a work-wise perspective. And that's the reason why I made some calculation in how big the steps I would like to take each time that an opportunity was offered to me. So my next steps are, obviously I hope that my company is successful. But if I have to think about, let's say, my next role, I think I would still go for a very small environment. I really like the challenge of a startup. This is something that provides me with a lot of energies, so I think I will really need to follow that. But as I said, it depends on which kind of opportunities they may arise. I mean, currently I'm not looking forward to going back to a big corporation for the reason that I mentioned. However, as I said, never say never. I don't say never, but I can see myself, moving to another startup, working in a similar way in sort of building the company, and working on a disease indication that is of interest to me, and then is clearly with unmet medical need. So that would be my next step.